everyone, it is Kat from Cat Stitch, and hopefully Monkey won't knock this over and I'll have less technical difficulties today than I did last time. I might restart this, I don't know, but we'll go and we'll see how we go. So it is early hours on a Sunday morning in New Zealand, and it's a wintry day, hence my dressing gown on over my clothes because it's really cold. And this is the warmest thing I've got to put on, and I don't want to put the heater on, you know. Anyway, welcome to Cat Stitch. I'm Kat, your host with whatever. And for those that are new to me, thank you very much for stopping on by and giving it a view. It is a FlossTube mainly about cross stitch, of course, although I do occasionally go off tangent completely and then, you know, Lord knows where we end up. For those that are coming back, thanks guys for returning. I do so appreciate you coming back and joining me. So today is, I don't know, I did note it all down, FlossTube number 18, I think. It'll be right in the description anyway. And it is Sunday the 11th of September. So I hope everyone is doing well. And wherever you are, keeping warm, keeping cold, or that sort of thing. It is almost a pyjama party, in all honesty. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and I have been asleep this time, but not for very long. So I thought, let's get up and get this done, and let's see how we go. So today we are going to, now obviously September, I decided to do start September. So while I'm not particularly starting one a day, I'm sort of doing that. And the original reason I decided to do that is because I was thinking next year no new starts. I've come to the conclusion, really, for me anyway, that I think the no new starts challenge is really for those that already have a lot of whips, in all honesty. So far this year, I've completed 75 projects. Yes, the majority of them are small. But the thought of starting enough projects to last me through next year, I don't really want to go into next year with that many projects. So I'm thinking maybe if I take 40 to 50 in with me next year, and then I can start a new one once I finish one of a similar size. And so I have, mainly in PDF form, over 6,000 charts that I have collected over the last few years, and I've been given by people that are no longer stitching, you know, for one reason or another. And obviously I'm not going to be doing all those charts. So what I did was mainly in the last week was I went through and picked out ones that really did call to me, that really caught my attention, especially as my tastes have changed. And a lot of those ones that I've had for so long are ones that I never stitched because, you know, they weren't something I was stitching because they weren't Halloweeny and that sort of thing. So what I've done this week while my printer was working okay, I printed up a heap of them. So I've got between 200 and 300 out of the 6,000 plus that are ones that have, you know, are more likely to be stitched over the next year or two. And what I've done is, including the ones that I've actually got hard copies of, I've done working copies of them already. And I've brought this, so I suppose this is part of haul, to store them all in. I'm still organising it, and I'm going to type up a spreadsheet and just put them all on it, put their sizes, and then work out the calculations. Thanks to Judy from An Aussie in a Kiwi World. Monkey! Who's deciding to be an idiot in the morning. So thanks to Judy, she's sent me through how they work out what's a small, medium, large, and BAP. Now, the amounts that she said are definitely different than what was in my mind, but I'm going to go base it on that. So small is under 100, medium is 100 to 150, I think it is. Large is 150 to 250, and then a BAP is 250 plus. Now, the way they work it out is you do the stitches, add them together, so it could be, say 80 plus 80 equals 160, and then you divide it by 2, that gives you 80, so then it becomes a small because it's under 100. Okay. Anyway, so I've got all those together, noted down so far, and calculated all of those, so I know how many small, medium, large, and I've even got a couple of BAPs on the list, which I just thought they were really big, not BAPs. Anyway, so that's how my plans. See, I mean, I keep on. I think I keep on changing the plans because as I'm starting down a road on one particular direction, I sort of realize, oh, you know what, this is not me. And doing all these starts, right back to where we started from here, doing all these starts, it's just sort of hit me that, I mean, some of them I just want to keep on working on right away, and I don't want to wait until next year to finish them. So some of these might end up getting finished this year. I do have 14 whips left from pre-September. So, my goal is to get at least half of those done and only bring half of the previous year's ones in. And I don't know how many more I'm going to start this month. I might not do as many as I've done because I've actually started 14 new starts from the 1st of September. So yes, it's more than one a day on a couple of days. But I have also returned back to the office, and because of the bright lights and things like that, my eyes get quite sore being around so much light. I can't stitch those nights. I need to rest my eyes. So 2 nights out of the week I'm not stitching at all. So I'm down to 10 days in a fortnight of stitching. But I can still manage to do some things. So today there's a few things. There's obviously the new starts. I did manage to work on a couple of the whips that were already in my pile. I've got a little bit of haul, not a heap amount, and some are going to be photos because I know the rule. I do. You're supposed to not use it until you show your FlossTube, but dang it, I needed the stuff, which is why I ordered it. So I took photos, and I'll post those photos when we get to the haul stage, if I remember. And then I've got a little story. As probably the world knows, Her Majesty passed away this week. While I'm not a royalist, I definitely do understand, the sacrifices she's made over the last 70 years. And it will be strange not seeing, so if I've got any coins, I'm keeping them because they're all going to get removed from circulation and that soon. So I'm just going to keep them and just put them aside somewhere in a safe place because I can never find those later on. So I've got a little story at the end, which, if you want to stick around, that'd be wonderful, because it is a memory with my granny and granddad, and also a couple of mementos that I brought back as well. So let's get into it. Bobby's asleep. He didn't like getting out of bed early, and especially when it's this cold. So it's very overcast. It's been raining off and on most of the night, so it's all wet and yucky outside, but it's okay. We'll go. No worries. Right, so let's talk about the whips first. Now, This was the one that I won from Louisiana Stitching Girl on Instagram, and she's got her own FlossTube as well, so you can go and check her out. She had a competition on Instagram, and I won, and I was able to pick a chart, and I had picked this one. It's called Black Cat In. I should actually try. We'll try and start here. There we go. It's called Black Cat In by Sub Rosa, and I had finally finished the witch when I showed it to you last time, and I didn't actually pull it out again until I think this is becoming a Friday thing, because I pulled it out on Friday to do another length. No, another 2 lengths. I did 2 because it's getting stitched on 25 count even weave Lugana, and it's just in ivory, and so I'm doing a single strand over 1, so 1 over 1, and I had gotten where the witch was completed, and I don't think I took a photo. The only thing I have to do is the skin on her, but this is where I'm up to now. So as you can see, she's been completed last time. Okay, so all this part here was done last time, and then I've added this part here. So I've got my first cat, and then there's like a motif here, and there's more of that lovely design to go down the bottom there as well. So it's very cute, and I'm stitching the black is the Weeks Dye Works Onyx. And then the only other one, oh no, I did, yeah. Oh, that's right, I had a finish as well. The only other one I worked on was Grace. I had felt quite bad that Grace by Kathy Barrick, and this is where I was up to. You know, that I hadn't touched her for a while, and I really love this design. So I pulled her out, and this is where I'm up to now. So I've added in a few more, and I've started adding in the flowers on top of the green. I completed the house. I just need to do the chimneys. Completed down the bottom here, and this part here. Finished off her dress, and I've started putting in the sky background as well. But that's Grace by Kathy Barrick. Me please. And I'm really pleased with the progress. So she's going to stay out for this fortnight coming up as well. I'm going to sort of try and focus on, out of my whips each week, I'm going to pull, depending if I'm going to do any more starts, I'm going to pull 5 whips to pick from to stitch on over the next 2 weeks. If I'm not going to do any more new starts, then I'll pull out a couple of the new starts again, because one of them is obviously my stitch start along that I'm hosting. So I'm going to put that one at the bottom, because that's my finish. So we'll do the finish last. Okay, now on to the starts. Right, so the first one is my start along. It's Cinnamon Stars by Plum Street Samplers. I really loved this design, and so this was my start on the 1st of September. Now when I first did the start, I'd only done just the little branches things in a bit of the fence down the bottom, but I have added a little more to it since then. So there we go. Maybe I should do it this side. I don't know, which side should I do it on? So that's my start. Got the little figure in as well, started to put that in. Now interestingly enough, and I'm loving seeing all of the progress that people are doing on this. So remember, if you want to join in, you can join in anytime. It is a start along, not a stitch along. So you start it when you got it, when you want to, when you can fit it into your rota, whatever. Just please use the hashtag Cinnamon Stars Sal 22. so that I can go and have a nosy, because I have been going and having a look at what people are posting. And the majority of the ones that I've seen have all started around the house. And I'm like, am I the only one that's not starting at the house? I'm actually saving the house till last, because that's going to be the part that makes it. So I'm doing all down the bottom and everything first, and I'll do the house last. So there you go. So, and I've actually done, started to do cards for all of these, and that's going to be part of my new system that I'm going to do. Okay, so number 2, on the Halloween challenge page, this month we're doing a wild violet challenge, and there's giveaways and things like that, prizes, and there was also a discount, 25% discount. If you just go to the Halloween, I mean, I've always got the link down below because it's the main page I'm on, and join in. There are some really cool charts that Wild Violet does, and I've picked out 5 and I've started 3, and I'll be working on those again this week, which is why I'm saying I don't think I'm going to be taking through a heap. I'm going to take through the bigger ones next year, but all these smaller ones, I'm going to be, I can't leave them undone when there's when there's not a lot to be, to be able to finish them. So this first one is Stagecoach in the Woods, and when I was having a look at the charts, this was the first one that caught my eye. I loved it. It is a little Halloweeny. I'm sort of thinking, we're talking about like Dracula or Frankenstein, or I just, that sort of era, Jack the Ripper. And so that's why I chose Stagecoach in the Woods. So that's what it's supposed to look like when it's finished. Now I know it's not Bestitch Me. Pole stitches. This was the piece of pole stitches that I was going to be using for another project, and decided I didn't like the other project, so I wasn't going to do it. So I saved the fabric that I could to use on something else, and I've decided to use it on 2 of the Wild Violets. So this is where my start is. So you can imagine that Stagecoach on this lovely purpley pink. I'm just using basic DMC. A lot of what I'm doing at the moment is stitching from stash, although there are some overdyes I've ordered and that I'm ordering because I'm wanting to use those colours on large sections, so I need to make sure I've got enough of the thread of that particular one, the colours I'm choosing. And on the same day, so that was on the 2nd, I did Stagecoach, and on the same day I also started Wicked Winds. It's very hard to put that D in there, isn't it, really? And again, using the same fabric, and there's my start on Wicked Winds. Hey, monkey. Which I'm quite pleased with. But like I said, these smaller ones, they're not going to make it to the end of the year. It's just not doable. And then the 3rd Wild Violet, I started on the 3rd of the 9th. It's called Sleigh in the Woods, and I thought I'll do one of the Christmas ones. And that's what this one here looks like. And this is a sparkly fabric. These are all 14 counts, these ones. I'm not 100% sure where I got the fabric from. It might have been from Sew It All. In fact, I think it probably was. It's only coloured on one side, so it's like it's painted, but it's opalescent. And so that's my start on Sleigh in the Woods. I don't know if you can see the sparkle, but I just sort of thought, with the sparkle and that sort of blue, it is very sort of wintry, and I just thought, it would be nice as a Christmassy, wintry sort of one. Okay, so number 5. Okay, I finally joined the bandwagon because if you watch Stitching 911, she's also doing Santa September. Now, I've seen a lot of floss tubes, and a lot of them have the Prairie School Santas, and I've looked at them for a while, and I do actually have a few of them, but I've just never stitched them. They're in amongst my 6,000, and I've never stitched a Santa. So I thought, well, part of Start September, we'll do a Santa, you know, and it's Santa September, so let's put a Santa in amongst all this lot. So I picked out the 2000 Schooler Santa from the Prairie Schooler, and I started this on the 3rd. All I've done is the book. Started the book. So there we go. So just started the book. Again, I am choosing, I'm trying to get the light in the right place. I'm choosing my own colours from Stash. I'm not going too far afield, but I'm not going, not going OCD about making sure I've got exactly the right colour. But, if you've been around for a while, you know that I love changing out colours. Now, number 6, as you know, I'm a Patreon of Teresa Kogut, and September, because it's Sampler September, the samplers that she created for this month, for tiers 2, 3, and 4. I haven't seen 4, but I've got I've got tiers 2 and 3. One of them, because I've been trying to find the right one in memory of my dad, and as soon as I saw this one here, instantly thought of my dad. The colours to me are like a Canadian fall, and my dad was Canadian. And the cabin, the little house, looks like a little log cabin, and my dad always wanted to have a log cabin. And with Remember Me, I thought that'd be great. Now the alphabet down the bottom, no, I'm not doing the alphabet, don't be silly. I'll be putting his name and dates down the bottom. So and it's still on, because this is going to be my Sunday stitch, because it is a larger one. So obviously, that's where it, and again, picked out my own colours, but I have sort of stuck to the autumny colour tones, and I'm actually stitching it on the 22 count, 1/1, and it's just the antique white, and so this was my start on the 4th, which was actually Father's Day in New Zealand, so that's why I waited until the 4th to start this one. So this is number 6, and there's my start. And I'm looking forward to picking this back up today. But yeah, when it's done, it will be one of the ones that gets framed. Because, as you know, I also don't frame very often. But that's why it's staying on the Q-snap, because it's going to be a regular. So again, that one's not going to next year, unless I don't finish it by the end of the year, because it just depends on how busy I get on the Sunday. So that's Remember Me by Teresa Kogut. And then number 7. Now this one, I don't know where I got it from, but there must have been a reason why I grabbed it and put it in my stash. Not So Perfect Landing by Virginia Knutson. Every time I can't remember what number episode it was, but I did one called Oops, about, it says Oops on it, and it's like how to drive a stick shift or something like that. And that was a Just Cross Stitch magazine one. Now anything in regards to driving and witchy driving, I love doing, because I've been in 14 car accidents, none of which I was driving. I was always the passenger, and I was always the only one that ever got injured. And yeah, so when I saw this one, I thought, oh, no brainer. So not so perfect landing, and that's what it's going to look like at the end. And this is where I've started. So I've got the broom handle broken. Now this is getting stitched on one of the new Jodie Ree. See, now this is what I mean. I actually got my Jodie Ree club for July, August, but I've started using all the fabrics. So sorry, you're not going to get a preview of them apart from when we're showing them on here. So this is a beautiful fabric. It really is one of the new ones. And it's big enough I can put another small design over this side. So yeah, really love this fabric. Really nice colour. And of course I haven't tagged them or anything like that. That's how new they are. I know which ones are new because there's no tag on it. So I can't tell you the name. I'll have to see if I can find the name. This one was another new one, I think. Yeah, this was the limited edition one, and I think it's called Jungle Vine is the fabric. And this is design number 8. It's by Madame Chantilly, and it's called Chic Halloween. I think she released a number of Chic Halloweens, because I've got another Chic Halloween number 1, which is on my list of ones to do. So this is the one that I'm doing. And I'm doing it on Jungle Vine, which is 14 count opal Ada from Jodie Ree. And that was my start on it. Again, you know, choosing my own colours. I can't tell you what ones they are. Well, I have noted them on the floss drops, what colours I'm using. So when I finish and I'm starting to dismantle, you know, the leftovers and that sort of stuff, I'll be noting down what threads I've used to replace which one. Number 9 start, Indigo Lane by With Thy Needle and Thread. It started this on the 5th. And I really, really love this. And I just, this was my first real Quaker. Now, I've never really done Quaker designs, but I can understand the attraction. The motifs, there is very much a lot of joy in finishing a motif, whatever you want to call it. And so I've picked out all my own colours, sort of based on the colours that are in the chart. And this is where I'm up to. But I just had so much fun doing that. So I don't think that's going to last until next year, in all honesty. It's a fun one to do, which is good because I've actually picked a lot of Quakers out of the, you know, in that 300 group to do. So I'm really happy I'm enjoying doing the Quakers because I'll be doing a lot of them. I definitely prefer those, I think, to the samplers. Although I'm starting to enjoy doing the sample, not the alphabets. They're still not going to get done. Number 9 is one that I wanted to do as soon as I saw it, and it was one that arrived. I got the chart from JK's in Australia. Count Twice by Plum Street Samplers. Although I wasn't going to start another Plum Street, I sort of figured because Cinnamon Stars is part of a SAL, I'm allowed to start another Plum Street before I finish the first one. Because I've got so many designers I want to stitch. I didn't want to have 2 of the same designer. I mean, the Wild Violet, again, that's because of a challenge. But I wanted to try and just do one design by a designer at a time rather than a whole heap of them. I know that starting some more, there are going to be some overlaps again because there's a few designs that are by the same designer. Anyway, so this is Count Twice, Stitch Once, which I think, you know, funnily enough, and there's my start. I need to learn how to count because I had to frog a few times because I kept miscounting. But I finally got that first portion done, and that was my goal to try. Didn't expect it to take quite so long, but I managed to finally do it. and so that one's got a good start to it. This is getting stitched on 14 count Nice by Live and Die in LA, so I'll just show you. It's a pretty decent sized piece of fabric, which is that. So it will be getting used for another design that I've got in mind as well. Okay. Right, number 11 is Autumn Bouquet, or Bouquet d'Automne by Tralala. And I started this on the 6th. Haven't really got much of a start. And again, it was a counting issue because I couldn't count. So this one's been frogged a few times and I just about gave up. But I finally got this it laid out properly. And again, this was a new piece by Jodie Ree. It was one of the ones from this delivery. And that's my start. So it's not too bad a start. Now, as you can see, it is a sampler and there's an alphabet. I'm not doing the bottom part. I'm just doing the top section, the bouquet. Yeah, so I'm just doing the top section. I'm not doing the alphabet. I don't need to do the alphabet. Some people can love it. Good on them. I don't need to know my ABCs that well. Okay, number 12 was the Gilded Cage by Carriage House Samplings, and I started this on the 8th. I'm using that piece of fabric that my friend Chris wrapped my birthday present in, because there's still quite a bit of it left. It's a lakeside needlecraft fabric called Opal, and it is 14 count. And so this is what the Gilded Cage looks like. And again, picking my own colours, but basing it on the colour tones of the design. And this is where I'm up to. So I did make a good start. I just kept on thinking, oh, I just want to finish this part here. And, oh, hang on, I just want to finish it. So that's why these ones with the motifs are probably going to be a little bit of a faster one for me. Because I just have this thing of I don't like leaving things not finished, like sections. If I can help it. So anything with motifs, I want to finish the motif, not motifs. Okay, and then the last two, I just did the basic 200 stitches on, which is the challenge. It's a start when there's 200 stitches, according to, you know, the no start along, the no new starts challenge. And so the first one, now I wasn't sure if I was going to start this because I've already got the Alice and the Mad Hatter, but I'm getting through that so fast. I thought, no, I'm going to start this as well. I'm not, you know, so this will be number 3. I still haven't decided on my Satsuma Street one. And maybe because of doing this, I may never do that Satsuma Street. I may never finish it. Because I'm like, I don't need another one. Who knows? So this is Alice by AuryTM. And again, the thing that caught my eye not only was at Alice, but because the Quaker style with the motifs and that sort of thing, it just caught my eye. The thing that took the longest was trying to work out what fabric to use, because there's all that empty space up the top where Alice and the white rabbit is. I didn't want to do it on white or cream or something. So I did have this piece, and I don't know where it's from in all honesty, of 14 count opal, but it's a slight yellowy tone. I might need a board behind this one because otherwise you won't see it. Just trying to find my board. Sorry about that if that made a bit of noise. Okay, so I'm starting down on the bottom left, and that's my start. The thread that I've used to start with is Weeks Dye Works, I think, Witching Hour. I know it's called Witching Hour, and I think it's Weeks Dye Works. Again, I've picked out my own colours from Stash for this one. Although I know that I've ordered more of the witching hour because I love that brown. It's got a slight purpley sort of tinge to it. I don't know if you can see it. And I want to do too close. My stitching's not. Okay. And then the last one I started last night, and by then my eyes were starting to have a bit of an issue. So I've still got to add a few more stitches to hit the 200 on this one. But I finally started one of the cottage garden critters, and I'm doing the ferret. I like the ferret. I'm not going to do all of them. There's only a few I'm going to do. I'm going to do the raccoon, the ferret. There's a couple that aren't that series, which is Strawberry Harvest, I think it is, and Gathering Acorns, because I love the squirrel. Love squirrels. But anyway, so I'm starting with the ferret. This is a piece of fabric from Live and Die in LA, Spooky Hollow. I was using this one for another design which I dismantled and then frogged what I'd done. So I had to find a portion of it that looked okay, because it's not a full coverage piece. I've got something else in mind for the section if there's going to be enough room, which will be the Tudor Ermine by Blue Flower, I think it is. And that'll hopefully fit in the other section. But this is my start. So again, choosing my own colours. That's my start on my ferret. The flower up the top corner. So that was my 14 starts for the last 2 weeks, taking off 2 days for being in the office. So 12 days. I did those 14 starts, worked on those 2 whips. I actually worked on 4 whips, but the other ones I haven't brought in. I'll show them next time. And obviously, you know, spent a lot of time on the computer going through all my files, going through my filing drawers and pulling out ones from there that I'd already printed up, made working copies of some of my charts and that sort of thing. So while I wasn't stitching a lot of time every day, I was doing a lot of stitchy work, just, you know, all the organisation stuff. But I did manage to get one finish in, and that was my Jeremiah. Now, this was a complete sulky conversion. So I had picked out all the sulky colours, and if you have a look, if you follow Chrissy on, you know, Finding a Farm Girl, if you follow her on Instagram or you check out her FlossTube, you'll see that Jeremiah has a girlfriend, Miss Jenny. Miss Jenny has emerged, and she is very cute. So I have a feeling I'm going to have to do Miss Jenny. I mean, I've got, you know, the Magician Jeremiah. I think I've already got that one. But I don't know when I'm going to do Jeremiah. I love doing my mouse. I love doing Matilda, and I love doing Beulah. Jeremiah is just a lot of green. I think he's gorgeous. But yeah. So, and the cool thing is, I think, yeah, I should have enough of the same fabric to do Miss Jenny so that they'll match. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get Miss Jenny, hopefully in the next week or 2. And so she'll get started. So here we go. There's Jeremiah. Oops, there we are. So again, total sulky conversion. So the colours are a bit different, obviously, from the original, from the sample and stuff like that. But I love him. I think he's absolutely gorgeous. And if I can do Miss Jenny as well, then I'm going to make them 2 stand-ups to sit next to each other. I love him. That was a lot of green. And green's not my favourite colour. But, and I love my little bumblebee. Love my bumblebee. And of course, Miss Mouse is holding on for dear life to the mushroom. But isn't he gorgeous? So really happy with him. So I'm not putting him away to be, you know, fully finished or anything like that yet, because I use my Q snaps. It's easier when the fabric is a bit bigger to not slide and stuff. So that's going to go into the pouch for Miss Jenny to go into. Right. Next up, my little bit of haul. Now, I didn't get a lot. Now, as you can, okay, so here we go. This is what I had that came early. So these are the Jodie Ree fabrics. Really, really lovely fabrics this month. Love the colours, and love the colours so much they've all been used or assigned to bags and kits and things like that. So, yeah, I don't have them to show you. Sorry. I also got these Colourworks and Weeks Dye Works and Gentle Arts as well, and they were from Stitch NZ, I believe those ones were. And I also got the 22 count, this one here, 22 count Salter Hardanger Ivory. I got some more of that because I'm actually quite liking the 22 count. Now, I can't stitch on it a lot at a time and that sort of stuff, but it's a bit easier than the 25 count for me, although I still have those 25 counts and I will be using them. I also got, I should have taken it out of the bag, it's just a canvas tote bag as well, and I got some of this stuff to try. You know, I like to try new things. It's the soluble canvas. So I'm going to choose a design. I'm going to attach this to the canvas tote, and I'm going to see if I can stitch a little design on the side using this and see, you know, how it goes. I suppose testing it really. So I got that. Oh, and those are another couple of threads that I was short for one of the projects. I didn't have to put them in it because I already still, you know, have some left. And fortunately, the way that I'm using them, while they're not exactly the same dye lot, they're still going to work fine. I've got more here? Yeah, I do. Okay. Now, as you know, the majority, like all my project bags, until I learn how to make them, are made by Judith, the lovely lady who's local here to me. She's over in the States at the moment. She's in New York, so I hope she's having a brilliant time. I know that she's going to go to the Bryan Adams concert in Montreal. I'm like, oh, so jealous, and so many memories. You know, back in the summer of '69. Oh, he was a hottie. He still is. He's not too bad looking still. Anyway, I don't see wandering. I'm actually trying to keep pretty much on thing today because I want to have time for the story at the end. But before she left, she had posted, now Outpoured is a cat rescue group, and they, you know, rescue cats obviously, rehome them and all that sort of stuff, but they do fundraising, and Judith makes the beautiful bags and other things that Outpoured sells to raise funds. And she showed me some of the ones that were left, and I love the Notion size bags because, you know, my projects just fit so nicely into them, and I can fit two or three of these Notion bags into one of the project bags. So if I want to take multiple projects, I can just, you know, put 2 or 3 into a project bag, do that a couple of times, and then put them into my tote, and I've got like 6 projects with me. But so she she had, now I've been wanting a Christmas themed one, and this was one of the ones that was available. Isn't that cool? And it's got the little paw that she uses for a lot of her Outpoured ones. So that has got my JBW design, you know, Christmas village, and the red stockings, red Red work stocking, red. Anyway, so they've got my JBW Christmas ones in. And I'll be... Monkey, you got hair all over this already. You so leave your mark everywhere. Actually, I think some of that's mine. I leave my mark too. So yeah, so that's my Christmas one. And then, of course, because, you know, it's cat protection, there's the Notion bag. I've got the... I've got the other one as well, which I got last time. So this is the next size up. And again, this one instead, the bling, with the zipper. Cute little cat on this one. So this one has, what is this one holding? And it's got the paw print. So this one is my, what is this one? Oh, this one has my count twice go into. This one, look at those, look at the cats in the boxes. Isn't that so cute? You know, if you've got a cat, does your cat like boxes? My cat loves boxes and bags and, you know, everything but a bed. It's so cute. And this one, oops, another different zip tag, if I can get it to stop moving so I can focus. This one is holding, that's the autumn bouquet, the tralala one. And then she had a few more pieces of fabric that she was starting to make some Notion, you know, some Notion bags. And I'm like, oh, I like that one. Oh, and I like that one and that one. So because I'm doing Teresa Kogut and that sort of thing, and I'm starting to do more of the sampler, and I realised that a lot of my project bags are very Halloween-y, fantasy sort of design. So I wanted something that, you know, would be something different. And so this is number one. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, I could use this as a Christmas one as well, if you sort of think, you know, snowflakes and that sort of stuff. But because I'm starting to do like Quaker style and that sort of thing, I thought this will be brilliant for that. A nice simple purple zip. Don't you love purple? This one, again, for the same sort of reason, because of the designs that I'm doing. A lovely neutral and classy looking one. And this one has the butterfly zip. And then this one is probably my favourite in a while. The owls. Isn't that gorgeous? And then the tag on this one is a little owl. Isn't that cute? So this one is holding, oh, this is my wild violet one. So I have both of them that go in there because it's just some black thread for those. So there we go. So that's my haul. I'm doing quite well. Okay, right. On to the story. And you know what I've done? I could pause it, but I tend to push the wrong button when I do stuff like that. So just give me a second. I was talking to Candace, one of my online friends. Hi, Candace. About wanting to go out to the garage and see if I can dig through and find the letters that my grandparents sent. So I'm going to go into a story now. So if you don't want to hang around, that's perfectly fine, totally understandable. Go on and watch some other FlossTubes. Have a great week. Keep well and keep warm, cool, whichever. And we'll see you next time in 2 weeks again. Okay, but if you want to stick around, find out a bit more about adventures and see some other bits and pieces that I brought back with me from overseas, that would be brilliant. So anyway, the Queen's passing reminded me of a story that my grandparents told me and that they'd written about in these letters. Now, back in 1967, well, actually in 1966 they won it, but they went on it in 1967. My grandparents won a world cruise all around Europe, UK, and then back home. You know, so they went to places like Cairo and you know, just Crete and Cyprus, and I'm just trying to remember some of the places. I went to Hong Kong, and because Granddad had a field day at the camera shop there. Anything electronic and gadgety, my Granddad loved. And but I digress. We'll go back to the story I was originally going to do. My grandparents sent letters back to my mum and my dad and my baby brother, who'd only just been born in 1966. So he was just a bubba. And boy, their writing was hard to read, because when I pulled them out, I was struggling to read their handwriting to try and find the right one that had the story in it. But I've got all of those letters. They were away for, I thought it was only for 3 months, but I think it was more like 4.5 months they were travelling. Looking at the dates from when the first one was and when the last letter came. And, you know, they'd start like, you know, if they were out on the boat, on the ship, if they were on the ship still, it'd be like somewhere in the something sea, is how Granny would have it at the top of location. And the ship that they were on, there were 2 that they were on. One was the Himalaya, and the other one I think was the Oriana. The reason I think it was the Oriana, because I do remember my granny brought back a little sailor doll, and it had Oriana on its hat. But the part that has brought this up is their stop in the UK. Now, my granny's family is from Scotland, so she was really looking forward to that portion of the tour, because she was going to see her aunt and uncle who were alive, and they, you know, because they were going to be on shore for a week or something like that in the Scottish area, they were basically taking her and my granddad around and showing them, you know, home. And for any Scottish friends out there, or those that have that, as I was reading through the letters trying to find the story, Granny mentioned that next to New Zealand, Scotland was the most beautiful country, and out of all that they've seen, the people were wonderful, and it was really lovely to read all that. So I had meant to bring it in. It was actually what I was going to do was type it up, because it was so hard to read. But I've really got to scan them or something to save them, because, you know, they're getting on, and I don't want to lose all those letters. So that's going to be a project to save those letters, because the paper is getting quite fine. Anyway, so I'm going to go back to the story that my granny wrote. It was their 4th day in London, and each morning my grandparents had gotten up quite early to go for a wander through the city and to see different things. So, you know, they'd seen Ali Pally, they'd seen Big Ben and the Tower of London and all that sort of thing. And on this particular day, it was a bit drizzly, and they'd made their way to Buckingham Palace. And, you know, they'd watched the changing of the guards and all those sorts of things. They'd seen a parade, you know, them walking down and that sort of, so they'd observed all of that. And they were standing at Buckingham Palace to the side, looking at the palace. And one of the, I don't know, one of the guards or something like that, because the Queen was in residence in one of the palaces, so they couldn't go and have a look all through there. Although I did get a wonderful description of like Queen Victoria's bedroom and the clothing that they wore in Queen Anne's wedding dress. Anyway, back to the story. So they're standing at Buckingham Palace at the gates, and they were looking at it and sort of seeing what activity was going on behind the fence and all that sort of thing. and one of the guards or security people, there's a little door next to where Granny and Grandad were standing, and it was not a door but a gate, and he was talking to my grandparents, and he said, "Would you like to come in?" Well, who's going to say no to that? So my grandparents were invited into Buckingham Palace through the side door, and they got to see the throne room, and they got to see a lot of things that most probably wouldn't get quick access to, and that sort of stuff. And they also got to sign the visitors book, which is usually only for like dignitaries and that sort of thing. And you know, Granny said that when they came out, everyone on the other side of the fence, when they saw the doors open, they all sort of like, oh, who's this coming out? And it was my grandparents. So it was back in 1967. And, you know, and just reading that, and actually reading all my letters, all the letters that my grandparents wrote, and hearing about the places that they went, the sights they'd seen, their experiences, it gave me an urge to travel, to want to see some of these places in person. In 2004, I was given the opportunity, thanks to my dad, to go and see some of the world, because of my eyesight was getting worse, and we weren't sure how much longer. Obviously, you know, still going. I'd have to be able to have the chance to see that, because I was a young mum, never got the chance to do my OE. So in 2004, my dad offered me the chance to go overseas. Now, the main goal was to get to Canada, to see where my dad grew up and to meet the family, and that which I absolutely loved, the experiences there. But part of the trip was to see some of Europe. So I was on a bus tour around Europe. I didn't do all the extra activities and things like that. I wanted to spend time wandering around and trying to find some of these places that I remember my grandparents describing in their letters. Every night I wrote, not just in my diary, but also a letter. And every few days I would send a letter back to New Zealand to my daughter. And I asked my ex-husband, please make sure that these are kept in a safe place, because I wanted to keep them. And so I did that every morning, you know, every evening, to sort of say what I'd seen and described everything. And I didn't take a lot of photos. You know, when I was asked why I didn't have more than, you know, I've been traveling for 3.5 months, and I had less than 400 photos to show, and most of them were in Canada with the family. Why didn't I take more photos? And the thing is, when you're in the moment, well, for me, and you're experiencing all these incredible sights and sounds and smells and things that you never ever thought you'd ever get the chance to see, I never thought to pick up a camera and capture it. I was capturing it in my head and remembering and that sort of stuff. So I didn't feel the need to have to take photos of it all to show other people. I got postcards and everything from everywhere I went. So if they wanted to see it, you know, I've got a postcard of it, usually. But the reason I timed it for when I did was actually probably a bit more obscure. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Me to You teddy bears. I collected them, and I still have a few. And there was a teddy event happening in London at the beginning of September of 2004. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go overseas, I've got to time it where I can be in London on that weekend. So that's what I did. I timed my entire travel, the European side of things. And so the tour that I went on through Europe, it had to coincide with making sure that I'd be in London for the Teddy event. So I went to it. Now, part of my tour, part of my trip overseas, I'd never been overseas, never left the country, but I wanted to take my Teddy with me, and my friend sent me this top. I've never been to Australia, but the top fitted my bear, so I put it on my bear. But this is the bear that went around the world with me. And the designer actually signed the paw for me when I was at the event. He has got his own passport, which shows everywhere he went. He's got his little Kiwi Australian flag on there because of my Aussie friends. Because I collect pins as well. Especially places, not so much things. Although I do have a big collection of magnets now because of it. But I love collecting pins from different countries or different states or different towns around the world. So this is Teddy. He went around the world with me. He went everywhere. He was, he would have his passport in his hands and he'd give it to the person to please stamp. Because one thing around Europe, they don't bloody well stamp as you go across the border. So we had to go to the post office, didn't we? Yeah. Okay. So we had to go to the post office, which was very frustrating because, but I had to go anyway to post my letters. Yeah. But the thing is, everywhere I went, I was picking up pins, and it was getting a bit heavy for him. Yeah, it was, It was getting a bit heavy because he's only little, with all the pins. So I put all the pins in a safe place to put on one of his brothers when we got home, who had a nice warm jersey, which they'd fit better on. So can I pop you down and get your brother? Okay. Right, hang on. Just going to pop him down. So this is his brother. He's a solid one. So here we go. And so what I did was I've basically pinned the badges on that I picked up. So we've got like from Switzerland, LA, California, Chicago, and of course Disneyland 2004. Where else we got? So we've got Switzerland for that one, Germany, Paris, some of the German ones, Fern Pass, which was wonderful, Rothenburg, the Roman Baths in London, Scotland, of course Canada. Went a bit overboard in Canada. I got a lot. I got a lot of them in Canada. And I got this one, Texas as well. So I do still look out for badges, pins from different countries and that sort of thing, because where's that one? Funny, my eyes could actually see. I have to get a magnifying glass for some of them. But yeah, so this is my commemorative teddy of my travels, my travel bear. And when I was at the Teddy event, you had the opportunity to paint your own tatty, paint your own bear, because of course I've got the figurines as well. And so this is the one that I painted. Here's my little paint job. He unfortunately got a little knock in one of the moves. But yeah, obviously not as tidy as the real thing. Fingers got a bit dirty. But that was my one that I did. So it's definitely an original. There are no other ones like it at all because I painted it myself. Right. So thank you if you stuck around to hear that story. I still think of my grandparents sneaking into Buckingham Palace, and every year my grandparents got a Christmas card, and on their wedding anniversary, their 60th wedding anniversary, their 50th, they got a card from Her Majesty, which was lovely, you know. So I was just reminded of that with the passing of the Queen. So I went out and found the letters. And the reason I wanted all my letters saved was because I wanted them put with my grandparents' ones to hopefully one day maybe inspire my granddaughter to want to travel the world, to want to see it and experience the different cultures and the incredible scenery and things like that. I loved traveling. I loved going through Europe. You know, every place was incredible to me. I had some wonderful experiences. The food was always interesting. Of course, I had to be careful a few times because I'm allergic to tomatoes and mushrooms. So Italy was a challenge. I will say Italy was, I had a lot of carbonara and Alfredo because I knew I'd be safe eating that. But yeah, so there we go. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing over the next 2 weeks. I know that there's going to be more organising going on because I do want to try and be a little bit more organised for next year, or sort of fine-tuning some of the planning and not be so hunting every week to work out what I'm going to stitch on when I want to start something new. I want to have ones that I can just pick out and say, yep, I'm going to be stitching this. So that's why I've sort of, you know, fine-tuned it down to 300 instead of me trawling through 6,000. I mean, it did take a long time, and I did delete quite a few charts. I think I'm going to keep on starting, like if I start a small one, that's going to be a goal to sort of finish this year. The larger ones, like the Teresa Kogut, and a couple of the other sampler ones, which are a little bit bigger, those ones will be getting carried through to next year. At the moment, my 14 whips that I've already got before this last 12, I want to try and at least finish half of those, which is going to be doable. You know, I've got Grace, I've got my black cat, and we might do a whip parade. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe at the end of the month. That might be what my next one will be, is a whip parade, because if I'm going to be starting some more, and I will work on these 12, adding on at least a length on each one, just to sort of bulk them up a bit, because looking at them, it doesn't look like I've done much work on any of them. There are at least 200 to 300 at least stitches on each one. Some obviously more, but I want to do more than that. I want to try and put at least, if I can, 500 stitches on each. To me, then it's started, because while I don't like frogging, I'm okay unstitching a couple of hundred stitches. 500, I'm a bit, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So at the moment, they are borderline still to me, some of them, about whether I'm even going to continue doing them. Because it'll be too easy to unpick them. But if I put some more work into them, they'll stick around. I mean, I'm not planning on not doing them, because I like all these ones that I've started. So there. So thanks very much for sticking around, guys. I hope you guys are all doing wonderfully well. I didn't watch a lot of FlossTube over the last 2 weeks, in all honesty. I caught up with my usual, which you'll see in my subscribed list if you want to see who I'm watching. I've just been watching like Charmed again, because, you know, I really like it. And I was watching Criminal Minds as well. One thing I was doing, was it last weekend? Last weekend, I had a Lord of the Rings binge, and each movie I used as a timer to work on a project. So if you want to spend a couple of hours working on a project, grab one of the Lord of the Rings. Honestly, put it on, have that going, and then when it's finished, right, that's it. Put that project aside. It's had the time needed on it. I have signed up next month to do the, I don't know if it's available everywhere, the New Zealand Embroiderers Guild, I think it had it on. It's basically to stitch 30 minutes every day, and you know, do a start and finish picture every day. And it's to remind yourself to take time for yourself. Most of the time I do that anyway, but the days that I work in the office, that may become a challenge for me to get in 30 minutes of stitching. And I mean, if I do get in 30 minutes, it won't be much stitching. It might only be, 20 stitches. Because I'm not going to strain my eyes, and it'll be on one that I do on a bigger piece. Actually, I've got some 11 counts, so maybe I'll start a project on that for those days, so that I've got, I just don't know what to do on. What do you do on 11 count? Is that, and obviously you use more than 2 strands. On 11 count, would you use a whole thing without splitting it up? Oh, and my darling got a loan of a Cricut maker for me. Have no idea what I'm doing with it yet. Have I looked up, FlossTubes and, YouTube videos and stuff? Of course I have, and I've got a couple of them earmarked to do the whole setup thing and all that sort of stuff. Mentally, I'm just not in a position to take any of that on board at the moment, because I'm too busy organising my charts and that sort of stuff. Once I've got that finalised, then I'll be able to focus on creating floss drops and that sort of stuff, which is what I wanted to use the Cricut maker for. So fortunately, I've got a good amount of loan for it, so I don't have to give it back in a week or anything like that. So I've got time to get these other things sorted out, and then I can focus on that. So I haven't got anything to show in regards to that. Haven't got any fully finished items. But then, yeah, there we go. So it must be after 7 AM now. And as you can see, the sun is, well, I'm not going to say the sun's coming out. It's coming up. It's still very overcast, although I'm seeing some patches of blue, so you never know. I'm going to go make a coffee and make some toast, and then decide what I'm going to do for the day. And also put all the stuff away into the right bags. Have to do that. So you guys have a great week. Have a great 2 weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care. Keep well, keep warm, keep cool, and enjoy yourselves. And don't forget, match the beat of your own drum, because that's where the magic happens. Doodles. Mm-hmm.